joined using through companion mode. Jitin Krishnan stopped using companion mode. That's what the message shows. Okay. Jitin Krishnan has left the meeting. Who's Jitin Krishnan? I don't know. Yeah.
Sean, when in Zoom, I think it is something similar to co-host or something. Could be.
Okay. Sir, we can start.
Yeah, just a few minutes, sir. Some more people are on the way. And YouTube streaming started. Okay, YouTube streaming.
Good evening, Mythili ma'am.
Good evening. I'm traveling.
Okay, good.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Parmeshwari ma'am.
Good evening.
Greetings, good evening, and Happy New Year to one and all. On behalf of the meeting through the Google Meet meeting platform and those watching the session through YouTube streaming. From the time it was recent past, mobility engineering has adopted digital transformation at a large scale and is open to be benefited by the new technologies and innovations. In our today's presentation on ChatGPT for the mobility and voice assistant, the presentation then will focus and outline multiple applications of ChatGPT in the automotive industry, including in design and engineering, customer service, manufacturing, supply chain, and quality control. Both the benefits and challenges, along with the future works involving recent evolution of retrieval and augmented generation based output generation from LLMs based on the prompts and better starting point or customized LLMs instead of more generic ones will also be highlighted. Let me formally introduce our speaker. Dr. Arunkumar Sampath has over 27 years of experience in the gamut of automotive and aerospace defense fields, including sustainable mobility, 5G networks, AI and edge computing, HEV and EV, hydrogen and fuel cells, drones and air taxis, autonomous and connected technologies, automotive electronics, cyber security, and EV charging. Dr. Arun holds BTech from IIT Madras. He passed out in 1991. MS from Villanova University, USA during 1993. PhD from University of Maryland, USA in 1997. And MBA from Lawrence Technological University, USA in 2008. Dr. Arun is currently employed in Tata Consultancy Services at Chennai as Principal Consultant and Industry Advisor. His prior engagements include Chief Engineer and Head Innovation and Global EV Tech Center at Mahindra Electric Mobility Bangalore, Director UI and UX Development, Supplier Interface and Operations at Automobile Pininfarina GmbH, Munich, Germany, a 100% EV startup from Mahindra, project leader and next gen XUV mild hybrid and Sasyang Tivoli India variant, head of business development and sourcing at Automotive Infotronics Limited, a 50-50 joint venture between Ashok Leyland and Continental AG, and project lead for the NVH development in hybrid vehicles at Daimler Chrysler Hybrid Development Center in Troy, Michigan, a joint venture between Daimler Chrysler, GM, and BMW. In his professional activities, Dr. Arun has served as the chairman of 3 SAE India conferences focused on hydrogen and gas-based economy, urban air mobility, and 5G networks and advanced mobility. Dr. Arun has written numerous articles on advanced technologies, including 5G networks, fuel cells, cyber security, urban air mobility, drive-by-wire electric vehicles, etc. With this brief welcome note and about the presentation and a introduction to the speaker, let me request our eminent speaker, Dr. Arun, to enlighten our participants on the applications and challenges of ChatGPT in the mobility industry. Over to Dr. Arun.
Thank you, sir, for the kind introduction. Thank you, IEEE, CSI, and ACM for giving me the invite. It's an honor. Please give me a second. I would like to share my screen, please. Can you see the screen, please?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Presentation mode, you can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you, sir, for the introduction. So, as the topic suggests, do some spell check and fix the spelling, etc. So, AI ML is already there even when you type a message in your smartphone, or for example, if you have to, you can just speak into that, and then it can do a voice to text conversion, and it can do the search for you. So, AI ML is, you have to look at that screen. It can read that file for you, and you can just close your eyes and you can listen to it. So, voice to text and text to voice, all these things are already available. So the pattern recognition, the text recognition, and in fact, these days in the airports in India, there is something called Digi Yatra that is also being introduced. For example, if you are able to showcase your biometrics and then your Aadhaar card and your face using the facial recognition, the system can recognize who you are. And then next time you don't necessarily need a boarding pass. It can just read your face, identify, and then accept you if you are the right person, and you can simply walk through. There is no more security check for you. So the Digi Yatra has already been introduced in a couple of airports in India, and it will probably come to other airports, including Chennai and other places also. So that is also there. So in addition to this, ChatGPT, as Mr. Mohan mentioned, got introduced about 1.5 years ago. And it has spread like a wildfire, where people have started utilizing it and then understanding the nuances and ingenuity of the tool. Essentially, it is a product of Sam Altman from OpenAI. He has been trying to develop the LLM and trying to train the model based on billions and trillions of data over the last, say, 15, 20 years. And then it can generate the output based on the prompts that you have. Okay, so what you see here is, just give me 1 second, I'll put the prompt pointer. Yeah. So what essentially ChatGPT does is, at the back end of it, it essentially works on artificial intelligence and ML, machine learning applications. Okay, so essentially you have a large learning model. It could be a generic model, or it could be a pre-trained model. For example, let us say you want to develop a model based on, say, medical histories or medical field. So you can always create an LLM, and then you can train a model to work on the particular data, and then you can create a contextual LLM. That's called large learning model. Something similar, for example, if you want to do some manufacturing assembly challenges in aerospace industry, for example. So you can create a large learning model based on that. and then you can train the data, and then you can use something like a ChatGPT. In fact, these days ChatGPT has evolved into multiple other GPTs, including Auto GPT and so many things. For example, for specific applications in automotive and all that. So that is also being done. But the principle is the same, but the applications could be different. So what you notice is essentially there is something called deep learning. Okay. So whenever there is, I don't know if you ever noticed, if you have a smartphone, let's say a Samsung or Vivo or let's say Apple phone, if you type the same word 2-3 times, the next time, when you just type the 2 letters, the third letter, it can pick up that word. Means it has already figured out that this is the word you are trying to type. Or if you're trying to type a sequence of words in a message, for example, it has already figured out that this is a sequence that you're going to do. So essentially, there are the deep learning algorithms already incorporated into even your messages that you can type on your smartphone. So what it is doing is essentially it is storing the data, it is seeing the pattern, and then it is learning from the pattern, the keystrokes, etc., that you're trying to do, and then it is trying to guesstimate what is the word that you may want to type, and then it can prompt you around that. So you can either accept it or you can probably change it. So something very similar here. You have essentially deep learning, so deep neural networks. Then recurrent neural networks means it repeatedly learns, because sometimes you may make a mistake or you may want to do a different word. For example, if I type WOR, it can be WORK or it can be WORLD. It could be world or work. So if you type 3 letters, it may read either one of them. So you may have to choose the right word in that particular context, and then you can proceed. So these are some of the recurrent neural networks that the algorithm will learn. And then what you're seeing is the reinforcement learning. As I told you, even a kid, for example, if the kid is at the edge of a bed, and first time the kid may fall down because the kid may not know, it is at the edge of the bed, and it may fall down if there are no guardrails there. But the second time, if you put the kid in the same place, the kid may learn, okay, hey, you know what, the last time I fell down, but this time I should be a little more careful. So even a human brain at a young age is able to figure out and then learn from the past experience. So essentially, this is the reinforcement learning that is incorporated into the ChatGPT and the large learning models. Okay. And as I told you, the fundamental, one more thing is there's something called supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So you can always, for example, if I have to design an autonomous vehicle, if I have to design a specific, let us say, test feature in that particular vehicle, I can always drive that vehicle on a specific stretch of data, stretch of road, through some traffic, let us say in the morning, afternoon, evening, etc. And I can do what is called the supervised learning for that particular algorithm. And then it can probably incorporate the time and the traffic patterns and things like that. And then the vehicle could adapt based on the data that it has gotten and the driving patterns that it can see. Okay. Unsupervised means you don't necessarily teach that, it can learn on its own. Okay. So these are some of the differences that you do. The next thing is what is called the unclustered and clustered data. When you say clustered data, for example, in a PDF file, you may have bunch of texts, bunch of equations, bunch of images, etc., and in some cases embedded videos also. So you are able to do what is called intelligent data processing, IDP, to figure out what kind of text is there, what kind of, in some cases it can even figure out the language. For example, if it is Japanese, Korean, Sanskrit, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, etc. So it can even identify the characters, identify what kind of language is there. So that kind of intelligence is already built in here. Okay. So the fundamental thing is the ChatGPT works on what is called the natural language processing. Means the way you talk to an individual in your conversation, that is pretty much how you talk to a ChatGPT. Okay. I will show some videos at the end of this particular webinar. So you can essentially have a conversation. It's like a chatbot, intelligent chatbot that you can have a conversation, and then you can fine tune the prompts, and then it can generate the outputs based on what you are looking for. Okay. And as I told you, for example, in the airports also, there is something called the facial recognition, speech, image recognition, etc. And it can identify whether you are an authenticated a passenger or not. Similarly, in the speech recognition, it can even identify the mood, whether you are in a good mood, whether you are in an angry mood, or whether you are in a sentimental mood, etc. So that also can be done. Okay. In fact, when I was searching the net, I found out that there are like literally numerous examples of, or maybe usages of artificial intelligence, right? From politics and government to banking and personal finance, transport, retail, education, gaming, media, hospitality, workplace, name it, it is there. For example, when you look at, let's say, online shopping, okay, if you go to, say, Amazon or Flipkart, when you go to, when you type in your credit card details, or when you type your address, or when you type your, say, whatever search that you want to do, it has stored the information. It can understand the pattern. Let's say every month you order some medicines, let's say some vitamins or some specific, medicines for, say, arthritis or something like that. So it can easily identify the pattern that you have. And the next time you go to that particular website, it can say, do you want to refill this order? No, it can intelligently point you in that particular direction. Okay. Similarly, in social networks also, as you may be aware, if you visit YouTube and then if you type in a specific word, let's say Talapati Vijay, then it will give you related videos or, events related to that. Or if you go to, let us say, some insurance, when you say, I want a two-wheeler insurance or a four-wheeler insurance, etc., it can also point out to related products, let's say home insurance or flood insurance or fire insurance and things like that. So there is already an AI intelligence built into some of these social media, social networks also. And one more thing in the defense application, as you may be aware, these days, due to the war in Ukraine, war in, Israel, Gaza, etc. So lots of UAVs and drones are being utilized. So some of these are equipped with what is called fire and forget missiles or GPS-enabled, pinpoint locators, etc. And that is how they're able to, hit the targets. So that is also being done. Okay. And one more thing in the agriculture, in fact, in the drones are being increasingly used in agriculture. In fact, as on a lighter note, as a joke, previously, when you used to go to wedding, when there is the muhurtam at the right moment, where the bridegroom ties the thali around the bride, people, get up and then they throw they bless the couple with the akshata and all that. Whereas these days, it is the drone that is actually taking the spotlight and not, the individuals. So the drone is focused and then it's trying to capture the right moment and things like that. Okay. So that is also being applied. And the technology is being increasingly used in multiple facets of our life. Okay. So one more aspect of AI/ML, I'm deliberately covering the AI/ML to begin with before I jump into ChatGPT, because essentially this forms the backbone for the ChatGPT. Okay. So what you notice is literally lots of startups and lots of companies are focusing on what is called AI as a service. For example, you can have cloud computing as a service, or you can have specific e-commerce, travel services as a service and things like that. So artificial intelligence applications are being offered as a service cross industry, whether it is a banking or whether it is healthcare, whether it is energy, media, telecommunications, etc. What it does essentially is it can improve the process. It can streamline the application. For example, these days, if you have to select some candidates, you may receive, say, 1,000 resumes for, say, one position. So how do you screen the 1,000 resumes? So all these things can be done using AI and, Gen AI tools. It can be done. In fact, banking and financial services, because of the sensitivity of financial transactions, has been at the forefront in adopting the technology. So you notice that approximately 25%, especially in the IT, information technology, they have been the biggest adopters of artificial intelligence technologies over the last, say, a couple of decades. The next is, let's say, healthcare, industrial manufacturing, especially with respect to flexible manufacturing, or what do you call as a greenfield manufacturing, or low emissions manufacturing, etc. So some of these things, how do you intelligently do the manufacturing? These are being done. Okay. So it is, for example, the deep learning, as I mentioned in the previous slides, deep learning contributes almost to 40% of potential value by AI. Okay. The biggest impact, as I told you, is in specific industries such as banking and finance, manufacturing, supply chain management, and sales and marketing. In fact, when you look at many of the websites that you go today, whether it is Airtel or whether it is, let us say, ICICI Bank, or whether it is, your Indigo or whatever, you notice that there is a chat bot, and it can say, how even income tax filing, for example, it says, there is a chat bot there that says, how may I help you? So you can either speak or you can type and say, look, I want help with XYZ. So the chatbot can probably point you to the right direction, or right sub menu or something like that. And one more thing is, cybersecurity is a key success factor, because these days, unfortunately, cybercrime has overtaken the drug crime. So the proceeds from the drug crime have actually gone to the second position, and cybercrime has actually come to the first position. And the challenge for lots of companies and lots of security agencies around the world and governments around the world is, how do you prevent the cyber attacks, and how do you identify the threats, and how do you, even if there is a security attack, how do you quarantine it, and how do you minimize the damage. In fact, lots of times you notice that, in fact, about 3-4 weeks ago, a couple of employees, contract employees who were handling the Aadhaar data, they were deliberately selling some data to some cyber, attack, hackers, etc. And they were caught recently, just about 3-4 weeks ago. And what this did, the system was okay, but unfortunately, the humans, they have tampered with certain things, and then that caused a good chunk of other data breach. So this was, unfortunately, not necessarily a technology issue, but a human factor also. So that can also be there with respect to cybersecurity challenge. Okay, now coming to the ChatGPT, essentially this was launched about 1.5 years ago. So essentially what it does is, you can go to OpenAI, ChatGPT, openai.com, and then you can log in. For example, you can register as a user, and then you can start using it. Essentially, you can just play with it. You can say, I'm in a bad mood, write me a poem. It can write a poem for you. Or it can say, I want to eat some nice biryani, get me a recipe. It can do that for you. Or if you say, look, I am in, it can, if you're on your smartphone, and if you're using ChatGPT, because you have the GPS location enabled, if you say, look, I want to go to the nearest beach, it can tell you, how far is the beach and how to go there, because your location is active. So many things the ChatGPT can do. So the advantage is, the applications are cross-industry, whether it is a healthcare, or whether it is banking or retail or manufacturing or aerospace. So as long as the data is available, as long as the large language models are available, and as long as the training has been done, you are able to enter a prompt and you are able to get some output. Whether that output is right or wrong, whether that is accurate or not, again, that needs to be cross-checked by the humans. But the system is able to generate some output. And in fact, sometimes ChatGPT is smart enough. If you ask a very intelligent question, it says, is Arun smarter, or is Arun's wife smarter? It will be very polite, and it will say, sorry, I'm not trained to answer such questions. So it will be very careful and politically correct also. So ChatGPT has been, a little intelligent also in that context. So a generative pre-trained algorithm, essentially, built on deep learning models based on, the natural language processing prompts. So proponents of ChatGPT say it is a disruptor that revolutionizes and enhances the value. And of course, it increases the brand sustainability strategy. Whereas critics of ChatGPT, they say, we have to use some caution. We cannot blindly follow it. And in fact, some professors in the universities are, they are apprehensive that sometimes when the output or the reports or even thesis that is being submitted by students, it has been getting increasingly difficult to figure out if there has been some plagiarism, or if these students have taken the help of ChatGPT to write certain things. Means, how do you qualify whether the work is original or not, etc. So if it is getting increasingly difficult to cross-check the information. That's number one. Number two, sometimes ChatGPT, based on the input that you give, based on the prompts that you give, it may generate output that may not be accurate. Okay, this is called hallucinations. So there is no 100% solution to solve the hallucinations, but you have to always cross-check the information. So that is also important. And in fact, one of the questions that came up in the queries to the presenter is what would be the impact on the labor market. I would like to say that, things are getting more and more productive, or efficiency is getting improved these days. For example, when was the last time you probably went to a TNEB office to pay electricity bill? Or when was the last time you probably went to a local water authority to go pay your water bill, or even a bank to, let us say, pay something or withdraw cash? You probably go to an ATM, or you probably do a GPay these days. You don't even handle cash. So technology is evolving, and the productivity is increasing, the efficiency is increasing. So ChatGPT will definitely work towards what is called robotic process automation. If, for example, let us say I have some medical claims, and I have incurred, say, about 2,000 rupees worth of some expenses over the last, say, 1 month. Now I want to claim. As long as I take the pictures of, let us say, the doctor's prescription, appointment, or the medication, etc., the pharmacy bills, or if there is any blood test done, etc., any report, etc. So as long as I take the scan of that or the picture of that and upload it into the specific tool, and the tool is programmed to read through them and say whether that is accurate or not, authentic or not, and if it is authentic, automatically the claim is processed. In fact, this is already implemented in TCS. This is already implemented in so many other companies. These days, for example, if you go for, say, any home loan, in fact, you go to any petrol bunk or gas station these days, they say within 5 minutes you can do a two-wheeler insurance. So how can you get a two-wheeler insurance within 5 minutes? So in fact, the system works and it exists because they are able to figure out, based on your driver license or your vehicle registration, what is the history, what is the chassis number, the engine number, etc., and it can immediately generate the code. So you can be good to go within 5 minutes. Or even your FASTag cards, for example. If you don't have a FASTag and you want to get a new FASTag, you can literally do it in a few minutes. So essentially what it does is it speeds up, it improves the productivity, improves the efficiency. But the challenge is you will find a challenge that if we do not upskill ourselves or improve our knowledge, then any repetitive jobs may get eliminated. Unfortunately, that is the truth. So it is important for young students and professionals to educate themselves, or improve their knowledge, or upskill themselves, so that they stay relevant in the market. So as I told you, till about one year ago, ChatGPT was working on GPT-3, then GPT-3.5, then GPT-3.4. So machine learning, reinforcement learning from human feedback. As I told you, as long as you are able to fine-tune the prompts, the output can also be fine-tuned. So if you say, for example, generate me a picture of a man riding a horse, then it can generate. Then if you say, I want a brown horse, then it can generate a brown horse. Now you can say, I want a man in his 30s. So it can probably do that. Then you can say, I want a man with a big mustache and a beard. So it can do that. So as long as you keep improving the prompt, or fine-tuning the prompt, the ChatGPT can give you the specific outputs. Okay. Now, something similar in the automotive industry. In fact, I will cover the potential applications. What you notice here is it could be, for example, there are multiple areas. I just mentioned about 3 here: design and engineering, manufacturing, and quality control. Okay. So what you notice is, in the design and engineering, for example, if you have to assist with streamlining and process efficiency improvement, let us say you want to improve the aerodynamics of a car, or let us say you want to improve the thermal performance of the radiator in a car. Okay. Or if you want to improve the user experience of your in-vehicle infotainment system, or if you want to improve the the touch buttons on the steering wheel on your vehicle, how do you place them, where do you place them, how do you figure out the sensitivity, the touch and feel, etc. So lots of those things can be improved using ChatGPT, because it can probably generate the images, it can probably give you guidelines. For example, if you want to improve the thermal design, it can say, use XYZ material, XYZ process, so to improve the thermal conductivity, etc. So we can walk through some of the examples, some of the videos. So it can actually help you with respect to design, and then reduce your design time. Okay. It will not replace a human, but it will assist in reducing the time for design. The second thing is in the manufacturing. As I told you, in fact, somebody asked a question whether we can do 3D model design. The answer is yes. So you should be able to do it. So manufacturing also, if you are able to figure out using not just the AI ML, but also what is called the augmented reality or virtual reality, using AR, VR tools also in addition to AML, we can probably imagine how an assembly line could be. How do you improve the ergonomics? How do you improve the takt time? How do you improve the manufacturing assembly process? How do you streamline your just-in-time, material availability? All those things could be done. How do you reduce your inventory? All those things could be done using ChatGPT to improve the manufacturing process. It can probably give you some directions. It can probably give you some ingenious ways to improve your manufacturing process. Okay, and I told you, identify and eliminate production bottlenecks. For example, if you have a specific material or a specific assembly process or a manufacturing process, then your entire manufacturing line is dependent on that. So how do you improve it? So it can probably help you identify those things. In fact, in the instant feedback to the workers also, if there are any specific issues, using cameras and using, let us say, AI feedback, okay, if there is any specific issue with any machine, if there is what is called the predictive prognostics, it can also give you a warning that something is wrong with the particular machine, or the assembly is not right, things like that. So that can also be prompted to the workers. Then the quality control could be automated. So essentially what we can do is using camera based or image based, or maybe some a master part versus the production part, a comparison. You can do those different things, and you can check whether the part is right, whether the system is right, whether the assembly is right, whether the dimensional tolerance is correct. So you can do all those things, and you can figure out if there are any flaws, and then based on that, it can reduce the costly vehicle recalls, and it can also reduce the turnaround. Means if there is, let us say, some defect, instead of that part going all the way down the assembly line, you can probably identify it much earlier and then fix the issue, and then reduce your product recalls or reassembly and remanufacturing. So that can also be done. Okay, so one of the interesting use cases of ChatGPT in the automotive is something similar to your black box in an airplane. For example, let us say a vehicle crash. Unfortunately, as you may be aware, the number of accidents in India are increasing. In the last, say, 30-35 minutes that I have given this talk, unfortunately, let us say about 100 people have already died in India. Okay, in the last 30 minutes, 100 people have already died. It's a fact, and the number of accidents in India is only increasing year after year after year. The number of accidents, number of injuries, and the statistics show that a good amount of these people, they are in their late 20s or 30s and 40s. So they are leading, young families, and they are the breadwinners. So there is a significant impact on the GDP growth of the economy of the nation also. So one of the things that ChatGPT can do is, or if there is some pedestrian crossing and if the driver is not able to see, can we improve the road symbols? So, or maybe put some speed breakers and things like that, so that the accidents could be prevented. All those things could be done. So essentially, what you do is you simulate a crash sound, bunch of different crash scenarios. Or if you are able to, you can feed them, and based on that, you can build the model. And then you can come out with what is called keywords. So you can do what is called, is a specific tool in OpenAI called Whisper tool. It can do automatic speech recognition. For example, if there is an accident, and maybe the driver and the passenger, they are using specific words, or maybe the driver is doing specific things. Maybe the driver is drowsy, or maybe the driver was not paying attention. Maybe the driver was fiddling with the mobile phone and not able to pay attention to the traffic, things like that. So what has caused that particular accident? How can you prevent it? And this can also help the insurance companies, because insurance companies also know that, if that particular. So based on that, potential root cause analysis could be done. Then, as I told you, you could either improve the road design or a vehicle design or some safety measures, etc. All these things could be done. Okay. Now, one more thing that ChatGPT could do is improve human computer interface. As I told you, one of the things that these days many websites are doing is what is called enabled voice assistant. So it could be ChatGPT enabled. So, for example, let us say this started out about almost 7-8 years ago with Amazon Alexa or Apple Siri. So based on that, where you have a voice assistance, and then it can understand your commands and it can do specific things. Okay, something very similar here. Using the ChatGPT enabled voice assistant, it can understand your commands. It can convert the voice command into and driver distraction. These are some of the key root causes for accidents, not only in India, but worldwide, whether it is US or Germany or China or Japan, wherever. Driver distraction has been identified as the about 80 to 90% of root cause in many accidents. Okay, so how do you prevent that? You could probably improve your in-vehicle infotainment system through voice assistance or gesture control, etc. So that if you have to, let us say, look for some specific, in the case of electric vehicles, says charging stations, you don't necessarily have to stop around and then look for that on your Google Maps. You can just press the ChatGPT, this one, open the tool, and you can say, hey, ChatGPT, can you please help me identify the charging stations within the next 50 kilometers? Okay, if you give that command, it can interpret the command. It can, based on the GPS location that you are, it can, show that different charging stations on the screen for you. So I'm just giving that as an example. If you say, you know what, I am hungry and I want to have dinner, I want to have some biryani. If you say that, then it can probably identify, the specific places where you could go. So these are some of the examples that it can do. So essentially, you can utilize it to improve the user experience, improve the in-vehicle infotainment system, the voice assistant system, and also reduce the driver distraction and reduce the accidents. Okay, and as I told you, there is something called a haptic feedback also. Means if the driver is about to cause an accident. These days, for example, about 80% of vehicles in US are fitted with what is called advanced driver assistance systems, ADAS. That means it could have bunch of cameras, ultrasonic sensors or lidars, etc., to identify the 360-degree view of a vehicle. For example, in Tesla, as you're driving on the highway or something, based on the cameras, etc., it will tell you exactly where you are, which street you are, what kind of vehicles are right next to you, whether it is a large, truck or whether it is a small car. It can show everything on the screen that you have. So if you know exactly where you are and what is the, how you are driving, so you can figure it out. So based on that, if you are able to give specific commands, it can give you the output. Okay. And one more thing is, if you are about to cause an accident due to distraction, etc., there is something called a haptic feedback. Means the ADAS system can also give certain signal to your hands, so that you can feel it, and then, or even in your, for example, your leg, when your leg is on the brake or whether your leg is on the, accelerator pedal, and it can give that haptic feedback, and you can probably, take corrective actions to prevent an accident. So that can also be done. Okay. In fact, somebody asked this question. What would be the impact of ChatGPT on the security, especially with respect to cyber attacks, etc. So ChatGPT has the ability to detect and respond to potential security threats in real time, because lots of times what happens is these days information is available 24/7. Whether you could have data centers in Iceland or Ireland or India or New York or anywhere. So if you are, let us say, showcasing the World Cup match, let's say cricket match, and you have people signing in from West Indies or from US or from England or from Germany or China or India or wherever. So depending on the number of users that you are anticipating, depending on the load of the servers, you are able to intelligently direct the traffic to the nearby server, nearby data centers, and then ensure that there is no security threat. So all these things could be done. And in fact, with respect to say bank ATMs are all connected through some data center. So if somebody wants to hack into it and then do some data theft or money transfers, illegal money transfers, etc. So these could be monitored literally 24/7. Okay, if there is any suspicious activity, the ALML algorithms can do what is called financial crime prevention. They can do that. In fact, this is exactly how ED, Enforcement Directorate, what it is doing is it is identifying any questionable transactions or high value transactions in any specific accounts. If there are lots of repeated transactions, for example, if somebody is depositing 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs in the same account over a period of, let's say, 6 months, it can identify the trend and it says, you know what, there's something wrong here. Maybe there is some PMLA, means Preventive Money Laundering Act. They can probably book somebody, or they can probably put a monitor that particular account. They can do that. So all these things can be done using AI/ML and using ChatGPT to automate that. Okay. Now, one more thing, as I told you, about 80% of vehicles in US today have ADAS. ADAS has multiple features, including what is called lane departure warning, autonomous emergency braking, frontal collision warning. In fact, I had the privilege to sit in a vehicle, BMW 7 Series in Germany in November 2017. So where it was a demo vehicle. So the driver, German driver, was sitting in the driver's seat. I was sitting in the front passenger seat. And after going and put the vehicle in the cruise control mode, let us say around 120, 150 kilometers per hour. And then he was deliberately, turning the steering wheel from one lane to the other, deliberately doing that. So the vehicle automatically senses that something is wrong based on the ADAS, and then it can bring back into the lane. And then in one instance, in fact, he showed me that the frontal collision warning, how it works. So there was a truck going ahead of us, and then he deliberately started accelerating so that the distance between that vehicle and the truck reduces. Okay. So as soon as the front sensors, front cameras identify that there is an imminent collision, immediately there is a warning light on the dashboard, potential accident. And if you still don't brake, the system automatically takes over, and the autonomous emergency braking is automatically applied. And in fact, the vehicle, if you're driving, just for argument's sake, let us say 150 kilometers per hour, it can bring down to a speed that is very similar to the speed compared to the vehicle in front. Let us say the vehicle in front is driving on an average, say 40, 50 kilometers per hour. It can maintain the distance. It can make your vehicle also about 40, 50 kilometers per hour. So to that extent, intelligence has been built in. To that extent, ADAS features are there. Okay. So using onboard cameras, other sensors, all these things can be done. So what ChatGPT can do is it can enhance this ADAS features using what is called reinforcement learning from human feedback. Means, as I told you, sometimes a driver may fall asleep, a driver may get drunk and get behind the wheel. So the system can identify, and in fact, the voice assistants can probably prompt the driver to take specific actions. For example, let us say, "Hey, Mike, are you drunk today?" And if the mic says, "No, I'm not," but if the camera that is inside the vehicle, it identifies that Mike is unable to focus, unable to drive properly, it can also generate an automatic safety mechanism, or what is called a limp home mode in a vehicle, so that the vehicle cannot go beyond a specific speed and all that. So all those corrective measures or safety measures can be incorporated in a vehicle. All that can be done. Okay. By the way, this technology exists. It is already in production. It is already there on many, many vehicles across the world. That is why you notice that the number of accidents year over year are reducing. They're coming down in Europe. They're coming down in China. They're coming down in Japan. They're coming down in US. Unfortunately, in India, they're going up. It's not a positive trend, but we need to look into it. Okay. So ChatGPT for automotive industry, improved customer service. As I told you, because this works on the natural language processing, okay, high level of conversation skills of ChatGPT means it can interactively talk as if you're talking to a friend, or you are talking to let's say front desk or something. So it can help you figure out what is it that you want, what kind of service you may need, what kind of grievance, if you have specific claims to be made, and if you're in an angry mood or a good mood, sentiment analysis, let's say Airtel or Reliance Jio, etc. Today, there are only two languages, or maybe say three languages, let's say Tamil or Hindi or Malayalam, etc. So you can probably do this for multiple languages, and you can scale it. That can also be done. And in fact, I will give you a specific, I will show you a specific video on vehicle service and repair streamlining. So if you have, let us say, advanced technology vehicle, because you have this ADAS and electrification and all that, sometimes the mechanics are unable to figure out what is to service manuals using ChatGPT. Have a specific symptom and you go to a doctor. The doctor may or may not be able to figure out what is wrong with you. You may be having fever, your blood test reports may be okay, your heartbeat may be okay, your blood pressure may be okay, but still you are having a fever. So sometimes the doctor may or may not be able to figure out what is the right root cause, what happened to you. So using ChatGPT and using the medical LLMs, a doctor could identify potential, cause of your illness by using by taking the help of ChatGPT. That can also be done. So something very similar in the car industry also. If you are able to, a mechanic can able to figure out what could be wrong with the particular vehicle. How do you service it? How do you repair it? Okay, that can also be done. Okay, and as I told you, these days everything information has to be quick. It has to be fast. So the challenges is real-time responsiveness. In fact, that these days, literally about 25 to 30 billion dollars of credit card transactions in the world are fake, means they are what you call crime. So if you are a merchant, let us say you are in a mall in Bangalore or Delhi or New York or whatever, and if somebody comes and presents a credit card to you, and you have to, you swipe that card and you have to ensure that transaction is okay, in a split second, the system has to figure out whether that credit card is correct or it is stolen, or if the transaction is false. Literally split second decision has to be taken. So how do you figure that out? This is where the AI/ML can come in. The what is called the backend, what is called the GPUs and CPUs, high-end processing. They can figure out whether that is. This is called. There is a specific industry in banking and finance called financial crime reporting. They are able to figure out what is the trend or what kind of transactions are happening, whether that card is stolen, whether that card is genuine, and things like that. So all those things can be done. Something similar, context sensitivity means whether somebody is trying to access any personal identification information, for example, social security or Aadhaar card or specific details, bank account number, etc. So ChatGPT is programmed not to share that information in a public domain. For example, you cannot say, "Give me the bank account number of HR Mohan." ChatGPT will say, "Sorry, boss, I'm not authorized to do that." Okay. So ambiguity handling means sometimes it is susceptible to hallucinations and incorrect answers. So it is always important that you cross-check the information and make sure that the information is accurate. Okay. So we just touched upon the data privacy and security. Continuous learning. Yes, like ChatGPT, as I told you, it was at 3, first 2.5, then 3, then 3.5, then 4. Now it is evolving and other large language models are also coming in. So there is always a continuous learning and over-the-air software updates that are being done. The only challenge is the potential bias. Let us say a husband, wife in a family, they are going for car insurance, okay? Husband, they may be in the similar age group, let us say 36 and 34, okay? If the husband goes for insurance quote, the husband may get a lower insurance quote. If the wife goes for insurance quote, the wife may get a higher one. Even though they may be equally qualified, they may be making similar salaries, etc. So this is the challenge in an AI/ML model, because sometimes there is a potential bias that is already inherently missed out in training the model. So this is being addressed. Unfortunately, it is not just a potential bias at a face value also. This has legal implications, because in US, etc., discrimination laws are very, very strict. That means you cannot have bias based on race or gender or those things. It has legal implications. So this is very, very important for ChatGPT to make sure that the output is accurate and there is no bias. And in fact, it is not exactly ChatGPT's fault. It is the data that is input. It is the training that is given based on the data that is input. If the input data itself has bias, then the output will also have bias. So this is some of the areas where the researchers are still trying to, improve the model. As I told you, question on accountability. In some cases, if the personally identifiable information is entered into a prompt, is ChatGPT intelligent enough not to reveal information about that individual, any sensitive information, let's say bank account information, etc. So this is something called guardrails in the Gen AI world. So lots of LLMs are being built with what is called guardrails. Even in the, let's say, medical world, let us say you feed in information about your X-rays, your blood report, your ECG and all that. So this information should not be shared in the public domain with everybody. It should be shared only with your physician or your hospital or maybe your immediate family member. Even in the family members, it may not be shared with 10 different family members. So some of those guardrails are being built in the large language models when the prompts are given. Okay, because the challenge is if something goes for any legal accountability, so it is difficult to figure out who is responsible or who is accountable. Is that particular service provider, let's say hospital, accountable, or is the ChatGPT provider accountable? Who's accountable? So this is a very dicey area and a sensitive topic. So as I told you, the risk of inaccuracy in a ChatGPT outputs means that it may not be 100% accurate, and sometimes the inaccurate results are what is called hallucinations. So we are expected to cross-check information and then make sure that the information is correct. Then adaptability to regional variation, because what happens is in some cases what is right in one context may not be right in another. For example, what is probably okay in say Bangalore may not be okay in Chennai, and what is okay in Chennai may not be okay in Maharashtra. So sometimes these regional variations are also there. So ChatGPT should be trained properly to be sensitive to the local variations. And somebody asked a question in the query, autonomous vehicles. So ChatGPT, as I told you, is increasingly working with AI ML on autonomous vehicles because it uses a deep learning, and these models are extensively used in the large learning models. So researchers, what they have done is they have deliberately introduced errors in the computer vision model, because as I told you, many of these vehicles have sensors. They have wide vision sensor, narrow vision sensor, ultrasonic sensors, etc. Because they have all kinds of cameras and sensors. So they are able to capture the images, and the images are stored as pixels. Even if you deliberately mess around with one pixel, okay, it can probably interpret the traffic light in this particular case from red to green, and it may cause an accident. Okay, so what researchers have found is this may be a genuine error, or this may be a cyber attack, or this may be a software error, or this could be a hardware error. So how do you figure this out? So there is no exact answer to this, but there is research going on to minimize the hardware defects, minimize the software bugs, and then even if let's say there is a pixel error, how do you quarantine it or how do you overrule it? So those algorithms are getting built. Okay, so that this is called the vehicle to infrastructure protocol. In fact, these days, as part of the ADAS and autonomous vehicle protocols, they communicate through what is called the V2I, vehicle to infrastructure. Means it can read the traffic signal, whether the signal is red or green or yellow, and they can also do what is called vehicle to vehicle communication, and they can also do what is called the vehicle to pedestrian communication. Means if there is a walkway and if there is a pedestrian in the walkway, then the vehicle has to stop. Autonomous vehicle has to stop. Okay, of course, it may not work in India, but it will work in other countries. A seemingly trivial error could be caused by hardware failure. As I told you, a simple bit error, whether it is in a RAM or whether it is caused in the logic, because sometimes you may have some integer multiplication, division, etc., and there could be some logic error. So sometimes those seemingly trivial error also may cause an error. So how do you figure out what is that error and how do you prevent any accident using the autonomous vehicles? This is I mean, there is no solution, but there is research that is continuously happening here. Okay. And somebody asked a question: if there are specific cyber attacks, for example, human in the loop or denial of service, or deliberately you're feeding wrong information to ChatGPT, so that you can trick the ChatGPT to do things that it is not supposed to do. All those cyber attacks can be done. And what the researchers are trying to do is, if some kind of an attack like that happens, how do you quarantine it? Because you have what is called in-vehicle networking. So you can quarantine the attack, or you can put the vehicle into what is called a limp hold mode, or you can disable the vehicle so that the attacker cannot take charge of the vehicle, take control of the vehicle. So some of the countermeasures can also be done. Okay. So conclusions and future work. AI ML applications, as I told you, they are found in multiple industries. And for example, the banking, manufacturing, customer service, improved security, all these are some of the areas where the AML applications are found, and literally ChatGPT that works with the AML in the background can also play a critical role. Now, it can improve the productivity and improve the efficiency in multiple areas, including what is called intelligent voice assistant, as I told you, in the form of chat bots. It can improve the voice assistant features, or it can improve the safety and security, as I told you, in the case of data centers. If somebody is trying to hack, or in the case of, let us say, ATMs that are connected to some network, if somebody is trying to mess around with an ATM, so it can do that. It can also improve the operational efficiency. As I told you, in fact, if you have the medical claims and things like that, if you have to improve the processing speed of your medical claims, it can do that. Okay. So you have equipment. For example, it could be a camera, or it could be a document, or it could be, say, a video or something like that. Or it could be a data type. For example, it could be an automotive. It could be a driver narrating something, or a manual input, means you are typing a prompt, or it could be even a crash location in this particular case. Okay. So based on that, the large language model can be programmed. In this particular case, let us say the crash elements could be identified, and then you can improve the LLM further. So based on a smartphone based LLM, in the case of an accident in India, for example, you can instantaneously generate a crash report. You can probably, using the GPS and the Google Earth app, you can identify the accident location, which direction the accident has been caused, what could be the potential root cause, has there been any injuries, what would be the nearest hospital. All those things can be seamlessly coordinated. Okay. And this is exactly where the multimodal LLM is being done. And this is where the future is headed. Okay. In fact, I don't know if you know, in Europe, US, etc., using just your smartphone, people can figure out whether you are an aggressive driver, whether you are a normal driver, whether you brake harshly, whether you, take very sharp turns and things like that. So, because the smartphones already have a GPS, and it can easily figure out whether you are going very fast or very slow, or how are you, because the smartphones have what is called different sensors, like, say, gyro sensors and things like that. So if you are in a car and if you are taking a very sharp turn and all that, just by using your smartphone, insurance companies can figure out what kind of a driver you are, and whether your insurance premium should be high or low, or whether you are okay to be given a lower quote or a higher quote. So even that can be done. Okay, thank you. Is it okay that I walk through some videos? Present the videos, and then we can probably have the question answer session.
Yeah, you can go ahead with the video.
So can you see the screen, please?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So in this particular case, what I'm trying to do is, this mechanic has been brought a specific car by a customer. And the customer says, look, I don't know what is wrong with my car, but the car doesn't work, or doesn't, do whatever it is supposed to do. And the mechanic notices that there are like 3 or 4 different error codes. And then he's trying to figure out what those error codes mean. And based on the error codes, how do I figure out whether there is an issue with the exhaust system, whether there is an issue with the engine, or whether there is an issue with the intake manifold system, how do I figure out, how do I fix this car? How do I repair this car? So that is where he's taking the help of ChatGPT, and that's what this video is about. Okay. Yeah. No, sorry, 1 second. 1 second.
ChatGPT towards the
Can,
right
can you
answer,
hear it?
especially since
Yes, we can.
I don't know what's wrong. So let's see what it says. Please keep in mind that this is an AI.
So what he has done is he has essentially
General
typed the
information.
year, he has given the date, he has given the year and the model and the type of vehicle. This is a Chevrolet from General Motors. Trax is the model of the vehicle. Let's say Hyundai Verna or Maruti already
It
there.
has the P0171, P0420, P1101. Here's some
And then it is showing
for any exhaust leaks before the catalytic converter. Okay, the catalytic converter is that guy right there. And it is bolted leak behind the converter. So let's see.
sorry, root cause of that oil leak and what could be the impact of that oil. ChatGPT is telling him. So it's able to figure out what may be wrong. So he or she can probably take the help of ChatGPT in a large language model.
It's not like we're trying to make a video. That's pretty good. I'm going to give it a point for that one. Let's try the other two. Suggestions to airflow sensor. So I asked it, what is a normal mass airflow sensor reading? And it said 2 to 3 grams per second at idle, roughly speaking. Then I asked it how to test the intake system. And it actually gave me some pretty good answers. It suggested, visual inspection, smoke testing using a propane torch, and then listening for the idle RPM to change, listening for hissing sounds. Those are all pretty good suggestions. So let's follow those and test the intake system. Okay, we're at 2.7 grams per second at 900 RPM. That seems kind of high. Yeah, I didn't hear any changes in RPM. I don't visually see any leaks. I know we got plenty of propane. I don't smell that.
What he's doing is essentially checking for leaks.
This thing I think is called an easy intake. It's a pretty awesome tool. Anyway, let's see what happens here. Yeah, there you go. Billowing out the valve cover. Would be the PCB here. Well, we ought to be able to see that or hear it. I think it's just a valve cover gasket. It's obviously leaking oil. So if it can leak oil, it can surely leak air. And that would affect our PCB system.
What in this particular video the ChatGPT is doing is it is telling the mechanic based on the error codes that he is seeing, what could be the potential root causes, what kind of tests that he could do. For example, the propane, the air leakage test, any change in idle RPM, any hissing noises and things like that. So it is giving some directions to the mechanic to find the root cause. Okay, this is just one example. I'll play another video.
Hi, I'm Ann.
I'm Wade.
And this is How We Van. Today we're going to bring you a fun public service announcement from Mercedes-Benz. They came out and they introduced that they have an integration with their Hey Mercedes functionality and ChatGPT. So if you have a a Mercedes Sprinter. And so if you have a Mercedes Sprinter van with the Hey Mercedes functionality, you too can sign up for the beta and test out the ChatGPT. You want to do a quick demo?
Sure. Let's take a look, and then I'll show you how to sign up. Hey, Mercedes.
How can I help?
So this is a classic example of intelligent voice assistant.
There are many fun things to do at the beach. You could go swimming, sunbathing, play beach volleyball, build sand castles, go for a walk or run along the shore, rent a paddleboard or kayak, go snorkeling or scuba diving, have a picnic, or simply relax and enjoy the beautiful scenery.
Hey, Mercedes.
How may I help you?
What are some interesting campsites near me?
I'm sorry, but I do not have access to your location information. Can you please provide me with your location so that I can provide you with information on interesting campsites near you?
We're going to do beach camping in Los Angeles, California.
One moment, please. There are several places where you can do beach camping in Los Angeles, California. Some popular options include Leo Carrillo State Park, Malibu Beach RV Park, and Dockweiler State Beach. Each of these campsites offers different amenities and activities, so it's worth checking them out to see which one is the best fit for you.
Hey, Mercedes.
How can I help?
Can you give me a good recipe for s'mores?
One moment, please. Sure, here's a classic recipe for a s'mores that always hits the spot.
So if you have a Mercedes Sprinter van and with the Hey Mercedes functionality, you too can sign up for the Hey Mercedes.
So in this particular case, essentially it gives a demo of ChatGPT integrated with in-vehicle infotainment system so that it could act as an intelligent voice assistant. Okay. So I will play the third one. For example, the design. Somebody asked a question.
Engineering is a field that demands precision, attention to detail, and expertise in the variety of disciplines. But what if there was a tool that could help you with research, design, and staying up to date on the latest industry? ChatGPT in its own word. Let's see, ChatGPT is a language model based on GPT 3.4 architecture. It is trained on work, allowing you to quickly find the information you need. Just like the example as you can see. Let's take an example. Let's say a mechanical engineer is designing a cooling system for industrial purpose that involves a large amount of heat dissipation. The engineer needs to select the appropriate coolant for the system, taking into account factors such as thermal conductivity, viscosity, and compatibility with the material used in the system. The engineer can ask ChatGPT to provide information about the property of different coolants, such as water, oil, and refrigerant. ChatGPT can provide data on specific heat, thermal conductivity, and viscosity of each coolant, as well as their boiling and freezing point. ChatGPT can also provide the insight into advantage and disadvantage of each coolant, such as cost, availability, and environmental impact. With this information, engineer can make an informed decision about the best coolant to use for system, ensuring optimal heat transfer and efficient operation. Next up is design. ChatGPT can help mechanical engineers generate ideas and explore various design options. For example, a mechanical engineer working on a new product can make ChatGPT to provide insight and suggestion for optimizing the design and improve performance. Example, assume that mechanical engineer working on a new product can ask ChatGPT to provide insight and optimizing the design to improve performance, reduce cost, and specific application. For instance, consider a mechanical engineer designing a high-performance racing car. The engineer needs to optimize the car aerodynamic to reduce drag and fuel efficiency. The engineer can ask ChatGPT to provide insights and suggestions for improving the car design. ChatGPT can provide the data on airflow characteristic of different body shape and configuration, as well as insight into the effect of various design elements, such as spoilers, diffuser, air intakes. With this information, the engineer can explore various design options and make informed decisions on the best approach to optimize the car's performance.
So we have seen three different examples. One was on, for example, intelligent voice assistant. Second one was on repair. Third one was on design. Okay, so this is just a brief. ChatGPT has a phenomenal applications cross industry, and I request you to kindly explore it and then learn more and more. Thank you very much. Sir, shall I stop presenting?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will go ahead with the Q&A.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation, sir.
Thank you.
It was very useful and it was very elaborate. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are a few questions asked during the registration and also in the chat box. So I'm just first asking the question that is in the chat box. When we use ChatGPT as translator, we have seen that most of cases it may not give the correct output. How one, that is the prompt engineer, can improve the chat GPT performance to prevent the blind belief on output.
See, it has, as I told you, it is reinforcement learning. Means you saw in the example of Hey Mercedes, first it says, he says, what, can you suggest me some beach locations? But ChatGPT says, hey, you know what, you have not shared with me the GPS location. So I don't know where you are, so I don't know what are the nearest beach locations. So next time he says, okay, this is my location, now please share with me the nearest beach location. So something similar in ChatGPT also. As you keep on improving the prompt and fine tune the prompt, the output can also be improved. So there is no it depends on a case to case basis. There is no a single solution or a single formula. Okay,
Thank you, sir. Next question. It has been answered already, but I'm just asking again. How can ChatGPT support the detection of defects in the design process?
Yeah. See, I have already answered this in that PDF file. What it says is, for example, in the manufacturing assembly, if there are any dimensional tolerances, or if there is any assembly a challenge, or if there is any, let us say, hairline cracks or anything. So ChatGPT with the cameras and the AI/ML, it can easily identify the defects, and then it can say, you know what, this particular part, there is an issue, so that your material or the manufacturing defects could be prevented, and then that it can be handled right there. Now, you can ask a question key, what is the role of ChatGPT? ChatGPT essentially, above and beyond the AI/ML, it can help you with the prompts. Key, are there any specific defects? So let's say you have a production from say 8 in the morning till say 6 in the evening. So you can always, when the production has happened, just for argument's sake, let us say you have produced 1,000 parts in that particular day. So you can use the ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, how many parts are defective today? So it can probably summarize and it can say, you know what, 29 parts are found defective today. Then you can say, out of 29, how many are, just for argument's sake, let us say intake manifolds or wrong spark plugs or something like that, Then it can say, you know what, 0 spark plugs, whereas 2 intake manifolds or 3. So it can give all this information to you. If you are a quality control inspector, at the end of the day, if you want to understand, what could be the quality control, the summary of that particular day's production, it can give. All these things can be programmed, and you can train the data, and then you can get the relevant output. It depends on your industry. It depends on your application. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next question. What strategy we can implement to mitigate job losses due to automation?
See, fundamental advantage of AI/ML and ChatGPT is robotic process automation. As I told you, for example, today, if you have a credit card, you go to a mall. If the amount is small, let us say 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, you can just tap into that particular, that card reader, and from the tap itself, it can figure out what is the card, what is the amount, whether it's a genuine, and then the transaction is over. So there is no enter the PIN, there is no OTP and all the stuff. So all those processes, all those steps have already been eliminated. Means your productivity has improved, the process automation has improved. So something very similar in the job also. Okay. If, for example, if you want to, just for argument's sake, let us say, I want to transfer some money. Okay. And now I don't necessarily have to go to a bank, fill a withdrawal form, fill a, amount to transfer form and all the stuff. Today, I can just go online and then I can do it. So something similar, what ChatGPT can do is it can assist you with respect to automate these things and then maximize the efficiency, minimize any errors. So if you are in a job that calls for repetitive automation, repetitive processing, then you may have to look at upskilling your field. You may have to do that because down the road the jobs may be threatened. Okay. I mean, if I have to use the example, don't get me wrong. Let us say 50 years ago there were no autos in Chennai or in Mumbai. Okay. Today you see autos everywhere. Whereas if you go to smaller towns like say Kanchipuram or Chengalpet or whatever, you can see Jatkas. Jatka Vandi means, today there are no Jatka Vandis. Today there are no rickshaws. There are only autos, So technology is improving, productivity is improving, and it is bound to happen.
Thank you, sir. One last question.
Yeah.
Methods of fine-tuning in large language models, that is particularly for Llama.
Yeah. See, there are what is called prompt engineering tools. Prompt engineering tutorials are available. In fact, I have already responded to this particular query. My request is, please take a look at some tutorials, some YouTube videos, etc., that are already available on how do you improve the prompt, how do you, fine-tune your prompt, etc. Those tools are already available. So kindly take a look at them. It has nothing to do with the Llama. Llama is just a large language model. It can be any other LLM also. So prompt is different. LLM is different. You can use the same prompt in different LLMs, or you can use the same LLMs in different prompts. So it has nothing to do with the LLM. It is the prompt that has to be fine-tuned. There is something called prompt engineering. You can probably take a look at it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to ask your queries, you can just unmute your mic, speak, and you can ask the speaker.
What is the full form of GPT?
I think general some transformer, na? 1 second.
Generative.
Generative, sorry.
Pre-trained, generative
Pre-trained transformer, GPT, yeah.
If there is no further queries from the
because the data, first ChatGPT, the data was available only till about, let us say, mid-2022. So they released it sometime around November 22. So from mid-22 till, say, today it is Jan 24, till, let us say, December 23, they have added more and more data. So they are releasing the next versions. For example, ChatGPT 3.5, 4.0, etc. So that is also being done.
The new versions are they are charging, no? New versions are getting charged.
Exactly.
Premium versions, and then only after GPT 3.5 it is free, and that has been trained till 2022 November.
Correct.
I think from September as well. So correct. Beyond that, it always gives a prompt that I've been trained. So I know answers only till 2022, something like
Correct.
that.
Correct.
So any idea which are the major auto industry people are extensively using ChatGPT?
Sir, everybody is doing it on multiple things. For example, intelligent voice assistance, integration with the ChatGPT, that is being done, as you have already seen, because the Amazon Alexa, etc., has already been done about, say, 6-7 years ago. So instead of Amazon Alexa, now you have, I shouldn't say instead of, but in addition to Amazon Alexa, you have ChatGPT also integrated there, so that it essentially acts as your what do you call intelligent voice assistant based Google search. Okay, something can be done. That's number one. Number two, as I told you, if there are specific driving patterns, okay, that information could be gathered by, say, an insurance company. So insurance company, if you do not declare some information, they can always figure out whether you are an aggressive driver, whether you have caused some accidents, whether you are caught drunk driving, all those things can be captured, and that data can be monitored, and an insurance company can always use the large language model to figure out whether, what kind of insurance premium can be quoted to you. So that can also be done.
In terms of Indian companies, any idea? Indian
companies, they are also integrating with the, using it as a voice assistant with the infotainment system. So that is being the first step. That is, for example, whether it is a Tata or Mahindra or, any of these guys are using that, or Maruti, they are using it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mythili.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Arunkumar. It's really excellent presentation to the court.
Thank you.
Very much happy that you have taken lot